The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small, and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family and available wherever you get your podcasts.
We're in Way Media.
And welcome to Film Foundations, a show where we take a look at, film and, what you should be watching or why you should be watching it, according to two people who spend an inordinate amount of time watching movies. I am one of your two hosts, Chris Stashy, the host of the Culture Cast, and I am joined by my good friend all the way from Disconnected, Ryan Verrill.
What's going on? I am so stoked to talk about this one today. Discussing Scream. Not sure about you, but a franchise that I've loved since the beginning. Saw the first one way too young and eager to discuss it. I've got a couple pieces of memorabilia around the movie room here that I love. I've got a Scream mask autographed by Matthew Lillard. I got to meet a few of the cast last year and get a picture with them, and yeah, love it.
What?
Yeah. Got a picture with Nev and Matthew Lillard and Mr. Jamie Kennedy and then Skeet Ulrich as well.
Wow. I was about to say, who didn't you meet? David Arquette and Courtney Cox?
Yep, that's the main ones, yeah.
The two biggies, I guess.
The ones that don't do conventions. Well, I bet David Arquette still does conventions.
I've got to assume so. Yeah, that's the funny thing about Scream is that, before we talk about it proper, it's funny because it feels that there's these movies have been coming out since 1996. It is now 2024, and there's a new Scream movie supposedly coming out, I guess, here in the next 2 to 3 years. Supposedly, we'll get to the supposedly part. I'm sure we'll talk about it kind of by proxy, but these movies have been coming out for almost 30 years. So it's crazy to me because there was a time where there was nothing more than Scream 3.
Right. And a long time. It was a long break between 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in high school and Scream 3 was it up until I was in college when Scream 4 came out. So yeah, like you mentioned, the original Scream came out in 1996. It was directed by Wes Craven, and the screenwriter is Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson, before Scream had come out, he had sold one script, the Teaching Mrs. Tingle script, which didn't go anywhere before Scream came out. I think it was only after Scream came out where they were like, oh yeah, by the way, this guy's a really talented screenwriter, which he is. I think Kevin Williamson is one of the better horror screenwriters. Maybe look, and I don't want to say he's only good at writing one thing, because that's not the case. Because I think Halloween H2O is a better Halloween movie than most people remember. And I think it's also just Halloween Scream, Scream Halloween.
Yep.
I really like Kevin Williamson's work on Scream, the first 3, or the first 2, obviously, because the third one's Aaron Kruger, which I'm sure we will talk about. But I mean, Scream for me, at least before we kind of answer any of the questions that we're going to be asking, I mean, it's one of, if not like, I would say almost in a lot of ways, like other than like Saw, it's one of the few like modern horror franchises that's still left. That hasn't been like completely rebooted, that hasn't been like taken out back to the woodshed and a bunch of sequels. I mean, even Saw had a bunch of sequels made that nobody really liked. But Scream, for whatever reason, like Scream holds itself to a higher standard, is what it feels like. And I feel like that's because of what the franchise is at its core, which is trying to be, quote, tuned into the horror franchise, unquote.
I agree for the most part. I think Scream has some of the best ongoing lore for any of the franchises. The only other one that you maybe forgot to mention, but although it does have a bunch of sequels, it's not lost a bunch of quality. Child's Play and Chucky is still ongoing and maybe has the best ongoing lore because it's still the same creator that's been there since day one. But yeah, other than that, it's not really an even playing field. We're reaching the status where the maybe people are passing the baton to things like Terrifier. But other than that, it's a legacy that's kind of tainted too, because Wes Craven is gone, and a lot of people didn't feel like it was a let's continue this franchise now that Wes is gone sort of situation. So even between 4 and 5, there was another big gap, and obviously there's some controversy with the next one that we'll get into. But yeah, solid franchise from day one, and revitalized a lot in the horror industry for the 90s. I think Kevin Williamson, big name to come from it. Obviously 2023, he had a pretty big horror movie come out called Sick. It was fairly enjoyable. I'm not a big fan of the COVID focused movies that have come out since then, but it was a better one of those, I would think. I think it really captured some of the essence of what we felt in the early days of the pandemic.
Yeah, I never checked that one out, but I've heard, I mean, I didn't check it out because I was like, well, it's 2022. Can we leave like the COVID shit in? But I mean, like 2022, right. I guess COVID was still a thing as much as it is now. So I had heard about it, but I had never checked it out. I mean, that's the thing. I've seen Kevin Williamson's other stuff like The Faculty, and like I mentioned, Halloween H2O. So, those are, I mean, oh man, I've got problems with The Faculty, but it's fun.
I adore The Faculty.
It's fun. Like, it's one of those movies where it's like, why did this many characters survive? Is what I always walk away from The Faculty. It's like, why are this many characters surviving by the end of the movie? But that's like a minor quibble. It does feel Scream adjacent. Almost everything Kevin Williamson did up until like 2000 is Scream adjacent.
Yeah,
The Faculty,
the biggest one is I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's basically a ripoff.
It's a ripoff of his own. It's played a lot more straight than Scream is. Like it's essentially in my mind like the equivalent of like, what if Scream wasn't as smartly written as it is, but still written by the guy who smartly wrote the Scream. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I Know What You Did Last Summer is one of those movies that I go back to very often, but it is, again, it's kind of a weird thing that exists because of Scream.
I just watched the whole franchise recently. I had never seen the third one, and good Lord, it does not end well. That is a bad movie.
Oh, good.
Very, very bad movie. It's not even related to the franchise, and they shoehorned it in like crazy. The first one's fun. The second one is interesting, has Jack Black, filmed in a beautiful location.
Wow. Did not expect you to say that. And don't the main characters from the movie get like killed off screen? I think
a couple of them do, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, I mean, look, like again, it looks like Scream, it sounds like Scream, but it's not Scream. It's I Know What You Did Last Summer. But it has, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. So I mean, it's like everything that you did with Scream, but just the non tongue-in-cheek version. It's kind of the way I always looked at I Know What You Did.
And honestly, we didn't even touch on the visuals of the two are like shockingly similar. When they made I Know What You Did Last Summer, they basically said, use everything the exact same way Scream did. Same angles, same camera lens, same like close-up shots, same sort of editing, and make them look identical. That's what the people want, clearly. And I mean, because of that, it's a decent looking movie.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, look, the original Scream was made on a budget of $15 million. It made $170 something million. So there is a line of demarcation in the horror world before and after Scream, at least in terms of slasher movies. And I would even say go as far as just horror movies in general, because I don't think you have something like Cabin in the Woods if Scream doesn't exist. Because again, like it's doing its own thing with its corner of the horror genre. Cabin in the Woods is, but I think Scream, I don't know, because I mean, Scream really is about slasher movies. I don't really like, everybody likes to say it's like, oh, it's about horror movies, but it's not really about horror movies.
Right.
It's about slasher movies. Cause like you have to make that distinction. And I say that because the tropes that they roast and the movies that they not send up, but I mean, Scream is a parody in a lot of ways. Like
it is a satire, but it's not done for comedic value. Although there's lots of comedy in Scream.
Right.
It's the stuff that they're actually sending up is not done for laughs. It's done in reverence, but also kind of passing the torch. And I think for one of our questions in a while, I'm definitely going to be talking about part of this for sure. But yeah, one of the biggest things is that it refers to slashers by name. It literally shows Halloween. Like they chose Wes Craven specifically chose Halloween for a reason. If he just wanted to send up horror in totality, he definitely would have chosen a different movie there.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, again, obviously you have Wes Craven directing the first Scream, the second Scream, the third, and the fourth. He directed A Nightmare on Elm Street. So like he's sending up the movies that he helped cement in the public zeitgeist. I mean, I don't think they really send up A Nightmare on Elm Street too much, but that's because like inherently with what Scream the franchise is, like there's not a lot of room for dream sequences, though. Well, there are, and I think that once they start injecting them into Scream, they start losing their way a little bit, Aaron Kruger. But I mean, Scream it's a franchise rooted, like that's the thing. Scream is a franchise rooted in reality. Ghostface, even though it's always played by a stunt double, which is one of the smartest things about all of these movies, is that Ghostface is never, until the reveal, is never played by the actors playing the character. There's not a lot of supernatural stuff in Scream. It's played more or less straight, which I have always appreciated because, again, like it allows for different kinds of musings on the genre that you couldn't do if it wasn't being presented as like these characters. Like you said, these characters are watching Halloween in the first movie.
Right.
They're talking about, I mean, within the first 10 minutes of the movie, they're talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. So they're setting themselves in our quote world, unquote, immediately, which I mean, again, like I can only watch it as someone in, the mid 2000s and now seeing that going, oh my God, but in the 90s, it must have been like, holy shit, what? And like, that's the thing. It's like, it's hard to put yourself in the mindset of someone seeing it in 1996 because Scream now, like even still like Scream, the original feels like old hat, but like when you sit down and watch it, you realize like it is a perfect movie in a lot of ways. Like, and that's the thing about it. It's like, it's a perfect movie, but that's because all these other things had to happen before it came out because it could never have just come out on its own is what I'm getting at. Like Scream is the product of a lot of other things. And that's what makes it so good is not only is it a product of other things, but it is also bristling at the fact that it is a product of other things.
The other aspect that I think we should probably point out before we go into our first question, you mentioned that this franchise doesn't have a lot of supernatural elements, and I think one of the main reasons for that is because Wes Craven already did it. If you want Scream with supernatural elements, just go watch Nightmare on Elm Street 5 and you're good to go.
Yeah. Look, that's the other thing. I think for me, whenever I think about my favorite Wes Craven movies, as much as I like Nightmare on Elm Street, which I do, and I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street before I saw Scream, I still think I would put Scream as like the thing that I think I want Wes Craven to be known for is the Scream franchise. And that's because he feels it more indelibly linked to it than he does with Nightmare, because after the first Nightmare movie, it's not really Wes Craven anymore.
Right. And I screwed up. I said 5, I meant 7. New Nightmare is obviously the one that I'm talking about. And it's funny how much that there are ties kind of with the first Scream, but really when you dive into it, Scream 3 is the real parallel for New Nightmare, because there are certain things that take place on movie sets. There are very specific scenes that you could tell, like a lot of the dialogue's the same. They're pulling from some of the same beats, and it's very fun. But also that supernatural element is present there in New Nightmare. That's not in Scream, and so it takes on kind of a life of its own. It's a very different type of story.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. I mean, again, Wes Craven, for me, he moves pretty seamlessly within the genre of horror, be it slasher, be it kind of supernatural, be it, Hills Have Eyes. I mean,
Rape
again,
Revenge, Last House on the Left.
Wes Craven's done it all. So, I again, like you can say any number of things might be your favorite Wes Craven thing, but I think for me, like Scream is the thing that I'm like, that first movie alone is a pretty monumental statement. And again, the first movie alone is damn near perfect. And a lot of that comes from the Kevin Williamson script and the steady hand that is Wes Craven. Like Wes Craven he's my favorite horror director, like period. Like, right. I mean, my two favorite franchises are directed by Wes Craven, Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream. So there you go. Like, and it's hit. And yes, he didn't write the script for Scream, but if you listen to any sort of behind the scenes information, he definitely helped with the later movies, because the people who are writing the later movies didn't have experience writing those characters the way Wes Craven had experience directing those characters. So yeah, I mean, for me, like, I mean, Scream really is Kevin Williamson, but it is also a lot of Wes Craven. But then, that's the other thing. It's also David Arquette and Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox, because that's the other thing about Scream before we kind of talk about, the questions is, the characters that aren't the killer are more popular.
Oh yeah.
Just as popular. And that's not the case with like any other horror franchise, really. Like definitely not Friday the 13th, because it ends up being about Jason. Nightmare on Elm Street, sort of, with Nancy. I mean, I would say my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movies are 1, 3, and 7, which are the Nancy movies. But that's also because those are the three that are tonally the same in terms of like,
right.
I mean, I think for a lot of people, 1, 3, and 7 are probably like as far as you really need to go with Nightmare if you're talking about like a narrative through line. But it's, for as good as everything else is, these movies really wouldn't be what they are if they didn't have 3 eminently likable leads. And, David Arquette, Nev Campbell, and Courtney Cox, like, I don't think you have a better trio of actors in a horror movie, like, period. Like, I like, name another horror movie that has as good of a leading 3 as like this franchise does through the first 5 movies, 3, I guess 4 movies.
That's the bigger thing, though, is there aren't other franchises that can keep that core 3 together through that many movies.
Core 3? Don't you mean core 4? Oh, gross. Don't make me cringe, please. Jesus Christ.
Oh, what a perfect segue that was.
I know, God.
I'm sure we're about to talk about that first movie quite a bit. So let's dive into our questions. The first one, of course, is always, what is the best entry point for our subject? Our subject being this franchise. I think the obvious answer here is the first film. Would you agree?
Wouldn't it be funny if I said something else? Scream 6,
Scream
obviously.
5, Scream 2022 is the best entry point.
Yeah. See, that was the thing. Like, I was wondering to myself, like, is there a way that I could realistically answer anything else? I was thinking that, like, when I was watching the franchise, I was like, because we know what the questions are going to be. And I know that, like, some of them undoubtedly are going to have overlap here because there are only 6 movies. And it's like, right. Is there any way to answer anything other than the first one for this first question? And as clever of a human being as I consider myself to be, I don't think there's any way to get around. You have to see the first movie first, because I tried my best to watch Scream. I watched Scream 5 like 4 times for this episode. And like every time I watched it, I was like, I'm trying to watch this as someone who's never seen this franchise before. And the only answer I could give other than one might be Scream 5. Like, genuinely Scream 5, because it does the most to differentiate itself from the first 4 movies. It is genuinely like we don't see the other characters from the franchise for a while.
Right.
So if there was any movie that you might be able to answer other than 1, it would be 5. And I think you might agree with me on that. Because again, like it is its own start of something else. And we don't see the Nev Campbell Sydney character for fucking 3/4 of the movie. Like David Arquette, he's the I mean, it's The Force Awakens, like is what it is. Like it
Yes.
is. Like it's The Force Awakens, but with Scream. So like, David Arquette's character plays the Han Solo role is what I'm getting at. So like
I think we should change because the name of it is literally Scream. I think we should just change Scream 5 to now be called Ghostface Awakens.
I mean, it's not, I mean, given kind of the themes of the movie, I don't think it's even that far off to like have that be a subtitle.
Right.
But I think, obviously, jokes aside, would I like to say Scream 5 to be clever and smart? Sure. But Scream 1, it's a perfect movie. Like it's the one that you have to start at. Everything about, that first scene is immaculate with Drew Barrymore. Like you could end the movie at the Scream title credits and be perfectly fine. Like, and
that would have been an incredible short.
Yeah, it is. Like it's perfect. It's literally perfect. Everything about it. And they even like smartly, you could, if you were able to tune into the movie enough, you could figure out that there are 2 killers from the beginning of the movie because they show you how many doors are in her house. And he goes, what door am I at? And then you realize, oh, there must be 2 people because he can't be there. Yeah. So, again, like that's the thing that's so smart about the first movie is that the first movie, it rewards future viewings. Every time you watch it, you see something else, especially if you know who the killers are going into the movie. You can really notice their performances being kind of weird throughout the movie. And you pick up on things. And like you mentioned, for me, the person that will always stand out in the first movie, and it's probably also one of the reasons the first movie is the one that I say, like, I think Matt Lillard's performance in the first movie is the best performance in all of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like he is the best part of the first movie. And he's also, I think, like he's the best part of this entire franchise. And he's only in 1 movie. But like his character, him and Billy's character loom large over the rest of the franchise because I don't think they ever get back to that third act. The third act of this movie is 45 minutes long. It's fucking insane. Like I think it's my favorite third act of a movie of all time. Like it's a movie unto itself in a lot of ways. Like, cause I always forget when the car pulls up to the house at the end of towards the end of the first movie, like the halfway point of the first
halfway point.
when the car pulls up, I'm like, oh my God, that's right. This movie gets to the final setting with like an hour left.
Yep.
And it's like, it is the most like Rube Goldbergian, like little perfect machine that you've ever seen. To the point where there's like fake outs. There's a fake out within a fake out. And it's, I don't know, like, my answer is the first movie. What about you? I want to hear you wax poetically about Scream 1. Stop letting me do it.
So here's the thing.
Unless you're going to say something else, maybe you're not going to say Scream. Maybe Scream 3.
Not even trying to be clever. I sat down and literally thought of the plots for all of these films and said, is there any way I can contrive to make any of these other films work? And I sat out Scream 2. It's a very good sequel. I think it's an incredible follow-up. I think it's astonishing. However, the ending doesn't have the power if that first movie doesn't exist.
Right.
So you don't get as much out of it if you don't have that. The third movie, clearly not the entry point. Let's just skip that for a second.
Whoa, buddy.
The fourth movie, because of the jump in time, that one kind of feels a bit like a legacy sequel, even though it's not quite that long. And so because of that, the chemistry that you're missing, the accomplishment of seeing Dewey be old and limping, like, doesn't mean much to you if you don't have those first few films to see what he's gone through.
Right.
The fifth one, this is the one I got the closest because it's as close to being a reboot as you can possibly be without being a reboot. All new characters, shocking. You bring on a new star in Jenna Ortega that you're going to center all this around. Melissa Barrera is a incredible, like second hierarchy that you're going to play off as the lead a little bit, but also really focus on Jenna Ortega. And when you have both of those, It's great. It's a really nice beginning, but then you don't have the power of like, we're back in Greensboro. We're here with Courtney Cox again 20 years later. This isn't a big deal if you don't have all of that. And then the sixth one, it's kind of just that same thing because it's like the Marvel universe of Scream because you're bringing, look at all of the suits that they've worn. Look, the ghost of Billy Loomis is here talking to me. None of that means anything unless you saw the first one.
I guess we should mention we're going to talk spoilers, huh? I agree with you, obviously. And that's the thing, Scream in a way, the franchise builds on itself, it positively and negatively. Like you said, like the MCU, like Scream has always been that franchise that you have to know everything else to really appreciate what's going on.
Yep.
And I don't want to be that person to say that, but that is the reality of Scream as a franchise. Is there is nothing we can do about the fact that it builds on itself. It is a consistent story being told with the same characters. Neve Campbell is only not in the last Scream because those motherfuckers didn't pay her enough. Which,
Right.
by the way, I'm going to rant for 30 seconds about this. Bad idea. Scream 7, if it even happens, is going to be a Neve Campbell movie, and I hope it's the last Scream, because at this point, I don't need anything else, and they don't have anything else to say about her character, and that was clear that nobody wanted to include her in the last movie, so now they're going to back the Brinks truck of money up to her house for the 7th movie for a number of reasons, and I think they were going to anyways, but Scream as a franchise has always built on itself, and the Neve Campbell Sydney character is that focus, because the story runs through her character through the entire first 3. Maybe not so much the sequel trilogy, but definitely the legacy sequel that is Scream 4. But I think, yeah, like Scream 1 is the answer. I mean, Scream 1 is the only movie of this entire franchise. Like, if someone asked me, if you could only watch one of these movies, which one would you watch? I would say Scream. Like,
Right, absolutely.
That's it.
And
like,
that's
period.
That's the thing. This could have been a one and done franchise. If it didn't make a shit ton of money, it would have been one of the best standalone films in horror history, period. Now, as you already said multiple times, Scream is quite literally, in my opinion, a perfect movie. Everything about it, tonal, it nails everything that it's going for. It has references that make it irreverent a little bit, but also like tributing a lot of things that came before it. Beyond that, incredible director in just immaculate ensemble cast. You have some of the best performances that you could possibly get, especially out of Matthew Lillard. And not to take away from Skeet Ulrich is great in that first movie.
Has Jamie Kennedy ever been better in anything?
Tremor 6 is pretty
good. Don't you dare. What is that? Is that Shrieker Island?
No, I think that was 7.
Burt Gummer's son, Jamie Kennedy, Burt Gummer's son.
Yeah, so that first one, Skeet, is rather creepy, and it's just like wonderfully set. And obviously we set up the lore of this Sydney character that is huge, and it carries on for so many movies. And really, like, we've hit her quite a bit. Sydney is huge for this. However, just props to Courtney Cox for a second. She is, as far as I'm aware, the only female actress in any horror franchise ever to be in 6 consecutive films of a franchise. That's astonishing. That is a big deal. And that's, again, like, Scream 6 wasn't like super powerful to me, but the fact that she got her one-on-one fight with Ghostface and didn't die in Scream 6 was big. It was a massive moment for her because we've been looking at that for 27 years prior. That's huge.
Well, and that was also the first time that they'd like talked on the phone together, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, Courtney, it's weird. Like, Courtney Cox is cast in the first movie because of who she is at the time.
Yep.
And like now, obviously, like, I'm not saying Courtney Cox's star has diminished, but like, Courtney Cox is not on Friends in the public eye the way she used to be now, the way she was then. So yeah, I mean, like, she is, her and David Arquette are the backbone of the franchise, I feel like, especially through some of the later sequels where they carry the entire movie. Cough, cough, Scream 3, cough, cough. But in the first movie, I mean, again, like, it really is the trio of the three of them. And she, I don't know if she's better in any of them outside of the first movie. I think she's the best in the first movie. I think as the franchise goes on, the character of Gale Weathers kind of stops feeling the same, but I think that's because she had such a different direction she had to come in from to begin with, that they had to change her character because there was no longevity to that character the way it was written initially, because she had to kind of calm down as a character, I think is the best way of putting it. She's kind of I mean, the first movie up until right near the end, she's pretty abrasive. But you kind of as an audience member come around to her, along with her coming around to David Arquette, which I think I mean David Arquette I think he's the real heart and soul of Scream, like as an actor. I mean, I think, his character surviving the first movie, Ian Malcolm style from, Jurassic Park, I think is the testament to David Arquette as an actor, making that character, like for the people who were making the movie with him going, well, let's just film a scene of him putting his thumb up at the end, just in case we want to pivot. And they did. And do they finally end up doing him in all the way down the line? Sure. But by the time they do it, it almost feels earned. Almost feels earned. And again, that only exists if you give a shit about the characters. And that's the thing that's, again, like Scream as a franchise does better than literally any other horror franchises. This is the horror franchise where you actually care about the characters. And given that this movie is meant to be a satire of those franchises, it's very funny to me that they do the one thing that those franchises struggle with, which is actually make you care about the characters. That's probably the biggest joke in and of itself. It's like, the biggest joke is that they actually do the thing that all those other franchises struggle with, which is, it's not actually about Ghostface. It's about these three human beings who just keep getting John McClane through their life by Ghostface.
Which also kind of makes it suck that Ghostface has emerged as this towering horror character that you can find at, Halloween stores across the world. There's new, like, kind of unlicensed board games being made about Ghostface. And what's crazy, they can't even use the Scream name. They're all called literally Ghostface because that's the only thing that they can get the rights to use. So it's this interesting thing that it's kind of taken over certain things outside of it. But yeah, I think other than franchises where you kind of worship the villain, or like Freddy Krueger or in Child's Play, it's all about Chucky. Other than those, I think Scream is really the only one where the actual victim characters are the ones that you're truly rooting for.
Well, and the other thing, and we kind of haven't mentioned it, but I think it bears mentioning, Roger Jackson's voice it is without a doubt like one of the great movie voices of all time. I mean, there's a reason if you go on TikTok, you can literally hear it in like every other video.
Yeah.
Because they have that like thing on TikTok now where you can have that voice narrating your stuff. And I hear it all the time. It's amazing. And that's the other thing, about Wes Craven is he's the kind of the not creator, but the steward of two movie villains who interact with their prey, because Freddy interacts with his prey throughout those movies. And that's one of the reasons that I think Freddy Krueger for me resonates with me, because he's just such a malicious bastard.
Yep.
And Ghostface is that times 10, because that's the thing about Ghostface, right? Is that it's, Freddy Krueger after the first movie, and even in the first movie, he takes on this like mythological quality as this like dream demon, right? I mean, to the point where Dead by Daylight calls him that. They don't call him Freddy Krueger. They call him the Dream Demon in the game. Ghostface is way worse because this is just a human being doing this to you. And that's so much scarier. Like Scream is one of the scariest, if not the scariest scenario horror movie, because and they talk about it in the second movie and in the first movie, but they talk about it in the second movie a lot. It's like the person who's doing this to you is like in your life already. They're like part of your life. They're possibly your boyfriend or your best friend or your mom or your dad or someone that you've been interacting with, like a student or a classmate. Like, how is that not scarier than any fucking Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees? Because ostensibly Scream is the only horror movie franchise that could happen to you theoretically if someone hated you enough to make your life a living hell the way Billy Loomis does to Sidney Prescott. And that's the funny thing, like the unintended consequences of the first movie within the franchise itself. That's the thing that we kind of haven't mentioned. Within the franchise of Scream, there is a movie called Stab, and a franchise within Scream is called Stab, and they use that to lampoon themselves on top of everything else. It's masterful. It's masterful.
And also to advance the storyline. That's the funniest thing.
Right. I mean, it's one thing for it to be like a gag, but by the time you get to the third movie, it's like not just a gag anymore. It's like the entire setting of the third movie.
Right. It's perfect. And then the other big thing that I really kind of wanted to point out here too about this before we go into our second question, which I love that we're going all in on this because it is perfect. The way the scripts tie in together, the thing that makes it scarier for me is with what you just mentioned. It's not just somebody coming after you. The fact that in every movie we find the killers and they all get caught except for so far the last one. We are sitting at you have a string of people that hate Sidney Prescott so much that one or two or three people are always coming after you in your life. And that is terrifying.
To the point where it's your own family at some point. And like that's the thing. It's like, I mean, again, like, everybody talks about John McClane, like, oh my God, like, how does this keep happening to this guy? How does this keep happening to Sidney fucking Prescott is the question. And like, for real, because that's the thing, like she, through 5 movies she's the one that Ghostface is always going after or trying to bait into showing up, at least, as the franchise goes on. But yeah, and you know what? It would feel stale, but in anything else, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And it gets to the point where if she's not in the movie, people are rioting, which is what happened with the last movie. Like, and I actually think that the last movie suffers from not having her in it because do I want Sidney Prescott to have a happy ending? Duh, because I think she's my favorite, like, screen heroine other than Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's not really a Scream movie without Neve Campbell.
Right.
It's just not. Like, it's just not. There's nothing you can say that would convince me otherwise.
Well, my friend, on that note, let's transfer to our second question, which is what is a deep cut in this franchise that we would recommend, but also, one of these films that is a really good entry, but not one that you should watch first. So I would love to hear your choice for this one.
So I thought about picking the second movie, but I think people feel pretty strongly that the second movie is the best sequel of the bunch. I'm actually going to go with 4, and I think 4 has aged in a fun way because I think the message of 4 is now more relevant than ever, which is the dissociative power of social media. Our dear friend Mr. Bo Burnham talks about it a lot, and I think that Scary Movie 4, Scream 4, which features Stab 7 at the beginning of the movie. But they're watching Stab 6, which is the funniest fucking shit. I mean, if that's not like a direct needle at Saw, I don't know what it is. Like, it's gotta be, right? Like, yeah. But I think for me, Scream 4, like, I remember seeing it in the theaters. I didn't really like it when I saw it the first time, because it does kind of fall flat. I think in terms of the reveal of who the killers are, I don't think it's great. I think it's probably a little bit better than the worst reveal in the series, which is the third movie. But I think the thing that's fun about 4 is I think that the Emma Roberts character is so beyond fucking unhinged. And I think Emma Roberts is a really fun villain. I love her as an actress who plays villains. Or like this villainous character, and I think that her like obsession with Sydney is hilarious. Like I find that like character who's like, I don't want to work. I just want to like do this. I want to ruin a bunch of people's lives so that I can be a sole survivor in a massacre that I've created. I think that's a really like, it's like a millennial thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's very much like Scream 4 is the millennial killer movie is what it feels like. It's a direct comment on a certain time and place in our culture, which was 2011, where YouTube and stuff like that is just becoming a thing. People are just now realizing you can do this for a living. And we've got characters in that movie leaning into that pretty heavily. It almost, in a lot of ways, like it almost feels the most dated of the franchise. Like there's a flip phone at the beginning of the movie, like a little, I don't know what that thing is called, like an NVIDIA N-Gage, like the little screen.
Yeah.
Out. So it almost feels the most dated of the franchise, but I think Scream 4, like you mentioned it earlier, it's a legacy sequel. Like it's so weird because it's the connective tissue between 3 and 5. Like, and I haven't seen another franchise that really does something like this, where we have 1, 2, and 3. 4 is kind of its own movie, and now it's 5, 6, and 7. But 5, 6, and 7 still have stuff from 1, 2, 3, and 4. But 4 is the movie that allows the things to make sense in 5 that are there, like the Judy Hale character. And that's the thing. It's like Scream 4. If there had never been a Scream 5, Scream 4, I think, is the worst sequel in the franchise. But because 5 and 6 exist, I think 4 is redeemed, especially by when 6 came out with the Hayden Panettiere character. But I think 4 is retroactively redeemed higher quality wise for me than Scream 3 is. There's a universe where Scream 3 is the answer here. Because I don't think I could answer Scream 2. Because Scream 2 is, we'll talk about it.
Wow.
What about you?
You ended that in a very I'll say unhinged way that I did not expect at the end there. So surprisingly, I wanted to go with Scream 5 here. I really thought that this was going to be the answer for me, but then logic started to come out and I started to look at the franchise as a whole, and I hate to just say I agree with you, but I agree with you. I think Scream 4 is the answer here. And when you really break everything down, it is interesting for that, because Scream 4 comes out 11 years after Scream 3 and 11 years before Scream 5.
Right.
So it's
nuts,
this
right?
really weird bridging of generations where, I mean, what we saw in the first Scream with Drew Barrymore, we see in Scream 4 with Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell. We see all of our characters come back. We see the addition of new, younger characters like Hayden Panettiere and Kieran Culkin, who's great in this. But then we even add like a protege for Gail Weathers with Alison Brie. We even add, Sydney coming back and being attacked in a way that she has already kind of coped with through all of her writing and all that. This movie, I don't think is bad, hardly at all. I think this is maybe my third favorite of the entire franchise. I'm very happy with how this feels after the sixth movie, like you said, but also just like to rejuvenate the life in it after 11 years when people thought it was all over because Scream 3 was, it's in the Scream franchise, it's really bad compared to a lot of other third films. It's not that bad.
There is no such thing as a bad Scream movie. The worst Scream movie is still better than like a lot of horror franchises' best movies.
Right.
Like, and Scream, like here's where we can nerd out for a second. Scream 4 is also the movie that broke the Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson partnership because of the ending of Scream 4. And the ending of Scream 4 does feel really out of place. And if you do the research and you go and look and you watch videos or just read about the production behind Scream 2 and 3, it's a fucking nightmare. Like a literal nightmare. The script wasn't done while they were shooting that second and third movie.
Right.
And you can read interviews with Wes Craven saying, I'll come back for the fourth one if the script is done ahead of time and they're not writing it while we're filming it. But the ending for Scream 4 was changed significantly because the ending for Scream 4 was meant to have the Emma Roberts character surviving into the next movie.
Right.
And Neve Campbell was supposed to have, selective amnesia essentially. And she was supposed to forget that Emma Roberts was the killer. And so the irony of the next movie would be that we, the audience, know that Emma Roberts is the killer and Sydney doesn't know that. And that would be the part of the movie that is kind of not the gimmick of the movie, because each of these movies kind of has a gimmick, but it would be the gimmick of the fifth movie would be we, the audience, know who the killer is. Sydney doesn't. Yep. And like the sixth movie almost teases that. And I'm waiting for the franchise to do it. And I really feel like if there had been a fifth movie right after the fourth movie, I like, obviously the Emma Roberts character at the end of the fourth movie dies, so you can't do that. But if we could live in that universe and see a franchise that went from 4 to 5 to 6 without 4 being this like pivot point where we can pivot into another direction and do another trilogy of movies, I wonder what that would look like. Because 4 for me is really good until that clearly shot 10 months later ending.
I get that.
It does feel really tacked on in the hospital at the end of the movie, like extremely tacked on.
Yeah.
And if it didn't stand out as the biggest missed opportunity in the franchise, during the ending of my favorite Scream, they took another thing out that would have been another carry through to another movie. And that's the thing. Like I wish that there was more carry through. Like I wish some of these movies felt like a more direct sequel to the movie before. Does that make sense? Because they are, but they aren't in a way.
Yeah. Especially, this one's hard because it's 11 years after.
Right. I'm still shocked that, I'm shocked that Scream 4 came out and then they waited in another 11 years to release Scream 5. That's nuts to me.
I'm also still shocked that Wes Craven did this one. It would have been completely understandable if he was like, you know what? No.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, I think it's also, if we talk about these movies being kind of a meditation on the franchise as a whole, but also horror movies at the time. Obviously, this comes out in 2011. We mentioned Saw already. I wouldn't say that this movie is more over the top violence wise than the last 3 movies, but it is closer in gore to 5 and 6 than it is to 1, 2, and 3. I mean, 1, 2, and 3, they're not bloodless movies by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not really, you don't watch Scream 1, 2, and 3 for the gore. But 4, 5, and 6, maybe not 4 as much as 5 and 6, but 4 is getting closer in that bent towards, blood, gore, actually seeing the knife going into people's necks and hands and arms and faces and their open mouths. Like 4 is where that starts to happen. And Scream, like I said, Scream 1, 2, and 3, not super bloodless, but not what you would expect from a modern horror franchise. And Scream 4, again, feels like a kind of a direct comment on the torture porn horror movies of the time. Because this Scream 3 comes out before Saw, Scream 4 comes out, and Saw 7 is coming out that year, right? Like, I think. So 7 Saw movies came out in between Scream 3 and 4 coming out. So it's not surprising Scream 4 is super gory and bloody because, again, if it's commenting on the horror kind of world at large, that was what was popular at the time. And I don't think it doesn't work in Scream 4. I just think Scream 4 is the weakest Wes Craven directed movie of the 4 because it doesn't. The first 3 movies, I like the way that they look. The fourth movie has a look to it that I'm not a super big fan of. The lighting effects that they were using, the camera, just something about it. Scream 4 always looks weird to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get that. And I think a part of that is because it was shot on lesser camera equipment, if I remember right. I think they were trying to save money and it was on a cheaper camera than it should have been for 2011. It makes sense for quite a few reasons. And it's really hard to justify putting money into that franchise 11 years after a failed sequel. Let's be honest.
Right. Scream 3.
So it's tough to, hey, let's invest a lot in making this incredible. And yet I still think they pulled off something pretty damn great.
Yeah. I think Scream 4 for me, doing a pretty big rewatch for this episode, like it's the one that like, I was like, I would rewatch this more than I've watched it before because I'd only seen Scream 4 a handful of times. I went and saw it. It came out like the week before my birthday in 2011 when I turned 21. So I went and saw it. And I saw it in theaters. Like I enjoyed seeing it in theaters. I remember walking out of the theater and thinking the same thing that like I still think about it now, which is like, it's kind of a weird little movie, but I enjoy it. Like it's the weirdest of the franchise, in my opinion. I think this question kind of you can look at it various ways in terms of what we're actually getting at by asking this question. But one of those answers may be it's the weirdest one, and it is the weirdest one of the whole franchise. Because 5 and 6 have a very similar tone, and 1, 2, and 3 definitely have a similar tone. But 4 is kind of the odd man out, but I kind of love that about it.
I would agree with literally all of those things. Yeah, completely agree. The only other one I'd say might be fairly weird. Six is still a little weird to me, but that's primarily because of the setting. Moving everything to New York, or attempted New York, which isn't really New York, is really odd. And
Toronto, you mean?
yes, I hate when, yes, this movie is clearly set in New York, but we're not going to show anything in New York ever. It's,
Oh,
I
they
don't
had
know.
Jason Goes to New York on the fucking TV at one point in that movie. They were
Jason
calling
hangs out on a boat.
they were calling their shot, bro, as to how they were going to treat the city of New York in their movie, just the way they did in Jason Goes to New York, which is don't show New York at all because it's not actually New York.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This again, I like it. It's fun. I like part four.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Third question, which I think this is where one of our most interesting topics is going to come out here today. And this is always, what part of this subject had the biggest impact on pop culture? I'll go first on with this one. I let you go the last couple times. And I really just want to say it's the fact that Scream was, and we alluded to this earlier, but it was like jumper cables in a dying slasher genre. The 90s
Dead.
were
Dead.
dead awful, just pure shit for slashers. Other than Candyman, like, we don't have much from the 90s that I look back on and go, yeah, that's like a really great slasher. That's we should keep going down that route. Obviously New Nightmare came out around then and it was decent, but it's, again, it was like the last gasp of a slasher franchise. And it's because of that, it had almost turned into a comedic take on it. And that's Scream and New Nightmare were both just so meta that New Nightmare definitely comes off as very comical. But yeah, slashers as a whole. Nobody was making slashers. Nobody was making good slashers. When they were, we didn't have anything really that was taking the country by storm and being very popular for slashers until, gosh, other than Scream, like the Texas Chainsaw remake was a pretty big hit, and even that was what, 7 years after Scream. So the landscape was just done at that point, and we needed something to revitalize it. And Scream really got there, and you can tell that it got there because not only is the Ghostface mask everywhere, not only is Scream as a franchise still going 27 freaking years later, but it spawned the Scary Movie franchise, and that has lots of there are what, four of those, five of those?
Five,
Jesus
six, maybe.
Christ.
There are
I
at
don't
least
even know.
five. Hey, I like that third one. I think Scary Movie 3 is pretty funny. But I mean, look, Scary Movie 1 like is a pretty good movie, and it's a pretty good parody of Scream.
It's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good like it pretty much is only parodying Scream in terms of like what movie is at the actual center. But that's the thing, like Scream in and of itself is a parody. So parodying a parody. All right.
So yeah, I think it really needed to be that revitalization that the horror genre needed, because we had the 80s, which was almost fully focused on slashers. We were huge on slashers, huge on practical effects. And then the landscape went, well, we have no more ideas. Now what do we do? And they made bad movies for many years. And that's it. Then Scream came along and it re-energized that. We got a new school of filmmakers that came in. We got a lot of people that came in the 2000s and started to see some of those landscapes change. And without Scream, and honestly, kind of tangentially, without the Blair Witch Project, a lot of those just never would have been able to exist. It wouldn't have been something that people could invest the money in to make, that they needed to make them decent. And so Scream kind of saved like modern horror at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like we talked about in the last episode we did, I think my answer will be similar to yours. And I don't think there's any way to get around, before Scream and after Scream, as it were, BS and AS. But like in a lot of ways, because we mentioned, slashers, but like horror movies in general in the 90s were not
Right.
like, they weren't the powerhouses that they were in the 80s. And so Scream helped revitalize the horror genre writ large, more specifically slashers, like you mentioned. I think my answer is a little bit of a different one now in 2023, 2024. I think maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I would have given the same answer that you gave. But I think now my answer would be introducing Ghostface into the public like eye, because I think Ghostface now in 2024 is as big or bigger than the Scream franchise. And I think Ghostface has escape velocity'd his way out of just being from Scream and being its own thing. I mean, it took 4 movies for the Ghostface mask to show up on the poster, but now on every poster since, Ghostface is fucking front and center.
Yeah.
And I think that is because Ghostface is a postmodern slasher icon, but a horror movie icon in a way that, like, it's just a mask. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, again, like, we could talk about the Ghostface Roger Jackson performance. We can talk about the costume outside of the mask, but it's the mask and nothing else. It's literally over my shoulder right here. Like, it's, for me, like, Ghostface is, other than Freddy Krueger, Ghostface is my favorite horror icon, because there's so much to parse out when you say Ghostface is my favorite, because what does that even mean? Because Ghostface is an idea, as I mean, like, you know, it's the power behind the image of that mask that makes Ghostface work. And that's what makes Scream so interesting as a franchise, is because, again, it is just a human being in that fucking suit. It's not anything else. But somehow that idea and that mask together, along with it effectively being Clue the movie. I mean, these are whodunit movies. You know, these are just murder mysteries. These could have been written by Agatha Christie. And that's the thing. Kevin Williamson made a whodunit movie with horror movie trappings and then lambasted the genre. But Scream they're really murder mysteries. They're horror movies, but it's because of the way Wes Craven shoots them that they're horror movies. And then 5 and 6, you know, are, again, their own thing. But I think for me, like, really just the iconography of Ghostface, and the mask existed before the first movie. Fun World had that mask. And then they tried to make their own ripoff version. The movie creators did for the first movie. And then they just went and licensed it, which was smart. And that company literally now buku billions because of Scream, because they owned that mask. But for me, it really is, like I said, now in 2024, as much as I want to say the same as your answer, I think for me, it's really introducing Ghostface into the public eye and the pop culture zeitgeist of now. Because, like I said, there's Ghostface shit all over. Like, it just is. I don't know how else to describe it, but Scream is still a massive franchise now. I mean, what happened to a Scream 7 last year was big enough news that, like, it was kind of all over. And I don't know what other franchises would have that much notoriety still 30 years later. And I think some of that goes with how
Child's Play.
I guess. Yeah. You keep saying that, and I would be inclined to agree. For me, that's never been a franchise that I've resonated with. I like it.
Honestly, same. I have to give
I like it just fine.
When it's the same creator doing it for so many years. And again, we're talking about the Scream 7 news last year when they announced John Waters was going to be a part of the second half of this new Chucky season. That made pretty big waves when that came out. And that's obviously, for fans of John Waters, that's a big deal. But also, it's just the fact that so many people went, wait, there's still a Chucky TV show? We're still getting stuff? And it's like, yeah, it's all the same people still involved. And
mainline too. Like, it's in the like the framework of the mythology still. This is not like new anything, right? Like, these are connected to those original movies. Yeah. And that's the thing. Again, like, Scream for me, just, I don't know. It has now kind of become just Ghostface. I mean, the latest movie, more or less, I think confirms that for me, given where that movie is, like, set for the most part. But I think, I don't know, like, for me, the introduction of Ghostface as a pop culture icon is what Scream, like, now Scream, for me, that's what it is. But like I said, 5 to 6 years ago, before Scream 5 came out, maybe even before Scream 4 came out, my answer would be, it literally, like you said, fucking adrenaline shot to the heart for horror movies. And I really think, like, we are never going to have a movie come out and do that to horror, because horror was really struggling. It's not struggling anymore. And that's because of Scream. Like, even now, that's still because of Scream. And, like, Scream 5 and 6 have come out and made shitloads of money. So people still care about the franchise too. Sometimes when we talk about a movie that made waves, those movies aren't necessarily still as important, and they're still not coming out. But this movie franchise is still releasing new movies. So it's not only revitalized the industry, but now it's making money off of the industry it revitalized in pretty big ways. Because I mean, 5 came out and then they were like 6 is coming out next year. I'm like, what? Hold on a second, Scream 2. So again, like, and that's again, Ghostface is that now. Like, he's so iconic as a character that there's no way to escape it.
I agree, and I also think that this is probably the perfect time for us to discuss the trappings of Scream 7 before we pivot to our fourth question here.
Oh boy, do we have to?
2023 has been a roller coaster for this, because for me, like, knowing that Melissa Barrera was going to come back for a third film, knowing that Jenna Ortega was going to be back for a third film, that was already exciting to me. That was really great. We're going to see a new franchise, new franchise holder of this, maybe with these two, and then they take that opportunity and it goes up in smoke before it could even be halfway realized, because Melissa Barrera got fired for what they called anti-Israel comments, which was literally just anti-genocide comments. And then Jenna Ortega's team, which I think this is the most genius attempt at good PR in a long time, they made it appear as if she went, "Oh, you fired Melissa? I'm out too." And what's funny is she had been out for a couple months due to money. They had to make sure that they put that out there afterwards. But maybe the biggest loss of this is because of all of that drama. Landon, who directed the Happy Death Day films, was set to direct this, and because of that said, you know what? I'm not even going to be a part of this, and pulled right out, which smartest choice he could have made. However, I would have loved to have seen him direct a Scream film. I think it would have been incredible. But now, I don't know about you. I sincerely hope they don't make any more ever.
Yeah. Boy, there's a lot to unpack there, Ryan. There's not, but there is. And I mean, again, we live in such politically charged times, unfortunately, that sharing your opinion, regardless of what it is going to, if the wrong people or the right people read it, and they're going to make a big deal out of it. And that's what happened, with Melissa Barrera. I don't even think what she said was really that big of a deal. Again, take that statement of mine I just made with what you will. But look, there are real things going on in the world that really suck. Does it suck that Scream 7 might not happen? In reality, it's just a movie. So It's not really that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, she was commenting on something that's happening in the world that's affecting people. I'm not saying that movies don't affect people, but they affect people in a different way. And it's unfortunate that someone voicing their opinions about something that they don't agree with got them fired from a job that, again, realistically was kind of theirs to lose, is what it feels like, given that I assume if none of this had happened, Scream 7 would have come out, and Scream 7 would have been the final movie in this trilogy of movies. And I've got to assume Scream 7 would have had something to do with Richie Kirsch's, or Richie? Yeah. Richie, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Richie Kirsch's mom, right? Because that's what the final movie was going to be. It was going to be like this crazy asshole family coming to try and kill these people. And that's not what we're getting now. Apparently, they're trying to get Neve Campbell and Patrick Dempsey to come back. I'm sure I can see how they could still make it Richie's mom and have it be Sydney and Mark from Scary Movie 3, from Scream 3. Jeez. But I just don't think, and I agree with you, that there's anything else that needs to be said in the franchise at this point. And Scream 6 the ending felt a little definitive. Like, you could leave it there. Right. Do I think they will leave it there? No. They're going to make a 7th movie. Come hell or high water, boys. So it'll come out, and it'll probably be... So that's the thing. I just don't know if it'll be good. Like, that's the thing. Like, after all of this stuff has happened, how often are movies good when, like, all of the shit has hit the fan as hard as this did? Because, like you mentioned, Jenna Ortega had already left. I mean, good on you for making it seem like you were championing your friend, but like, whatever. Right. And like, look, fuck them for not paying Jenna Ortega either. But here's the thing. Jenna Ortega in Scream 5 is not Jenna Ortega of now. Like, right. Like, if Scream 5 had happened a couple years later, they might have gotten Jenna Ortega and actually killed her ass off at the beginning of that movie. Yep. Like 100%, because she, like, right now you would make Scream 5 and have her get killed off at the beginning of the movie, but make the trailer look like you would make a fake trailer, or you'd use like footage, or you'd just omit her from the trailers or something to make it look like she's in the entire movie, and then kill her off in the first 10 minutes of Scream 5. but we're not, what's weird is we're not living in that universe. We're living in the universe where she was in Scream 5 before she's now who she is. We're walking away from Scream 7's not that big of a deal for Jenna Ortega, which
Right.
10 years ago or 7 years ago or 5 years ago or however long ago you want to say, that she would not have done that
Nope.
5 years ago. But now she's like, fuck it, I'm Wednesday Addams. Like I've cemented myself already so much further as a singular identity outside of this franchise. Cause like Melissa Barrera, I haven't seen her in anything else. I know she's in the Heights, but Jenna Ortega like is kind of like the Nev Campbell of this trilogy in terms of.
You've never seen 2022's Carmen?
No.
I love that I just happen to have this sitting here so I can show you.
Why do you have
I just watched it the other day.
I haven't seen her in anything else. Like she's fine, but like Jenna Ortega is Jenna Ortega. Like she's a very charismatic actress. And I don't know what Scream 7 looks like at this point, and I'm kind of too afraid to ask. So
I don't think anyone knows. That's the hard part.
Vanderbilt and Busick probably know because they're the ones that are starting on the new script and they're having to start from scratch because again, Melissa Barrera is not going to be in this movie. And that character is the main, like it's almost like if they left Nev Campbell out of the second Scream movie. Like,
yeah.
Right? It's like I don't think there's any way to move forward. Or I guess it would be like if they left Nev Campbell out of Scream 3. Yeah. But like I just don't think there's a point in moving forward with Scream if they can't rehire Melissa Barrera and just make the damn movie that they were going to make. Like at some point, people are going to stop caring about having the opinions that people are having. But right now, everything is so everybody's watching everything all the time that you can't say anything without getting in trouble. But there will come a time where people will stop caring as much again. And if this movie doesn't get made in enough time, they'll just make this movie the way that they were going to after a while.
What is probably going to be happening is something that you alluded to just a little while ago. They will likely shell out a ton of money because now she has even more power to hire Nev Campbell again and just make it a Sidney Prescott button on the franchise where hopefully like they die going after each other or something like that at the same time. And it's not Sidney Prescott dropping Ghostface into a metal revolving grinder like at the end of Halloween Ends. But it's a franchise that will probably have a button on it that it needs something. I got to be honest. It although 6 felt like it could have been the end, I could see them pushing for like, well, the fans are dying for it. We need Nev back, and it's just not going to work. It's not going to be the same thing. And having her not be in 6 really took away from that.
Yeah, it did. I mean, they even tried to be like, oh, she wishes us luck or whatever Courtney Cox says. Like they try to hang a lantern on it. It's like, oh, fuck this, guys. Come on. Like, this sucks. I get it. Like, but also this is self-inflicted. Like, you didn't want to pay Nev Campbell to be in your movie. Like, guys, like, that's some sucky shit. Like, it's all sucky. Like, again, like, actors having to strike to get paid fairly, writers having to strike to get paid fairly, all sucks. But also advocating for yourself and saying, you know what, you're not going to pay me, then I'm not going to show up. And you know what, good on Nev Campbell. I don't blame her, I blame them because they should know better at this point. She is the heart and soul of this franchise. She's been in every single movie until she wasn't. And look, Scream 6 is what it is, but it suffers because Nev Campbell's not in it. And I think you're right. Scream 7 will just be like, farewell to arms, Ghostface. You know what I mean? Like it'll be that final movie. And it will probably be, see, here's the thing. I want it to be the thing that everybody's talked about that they alluded to in Scream 6 that everybody wants. So just fucking do that. You know what? Just do it then. If this is what happens, then just do it. Bring Matt Lillard back. Just do it. Nobody cares. For once, give the fucking fans what they want because that's what you want that. I want that. They hinted at it already in Scream 6. Like they literally already hinted at it. So why not just do it? Now that your plans have changed so drastically, just do it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because Scream 7 doesn't need, if you're not going to do that for Scream 7, don't make it. That's kind of what I'm getting at. If you're not going to do the goddamn thing that we've all wanted them to do for so long, because he was the best part of that movie in a lot of ways, then maybe you should just do it. Stop teasing it. Stop yucking, chortling about it within your own movie and just do it. Because at this point, I don't think anybody's going to complain if Scream 7 is Sydney versus Stu Macher one more time.
Right.
It would be fun, wouldn't it? Like, I've got to assume that if they ever made that movie and the Ghostface mask gets pulled off and it is a scarified Matthew Lillard from the TV getting dropped on his face, I don't know what I would do. I would fangirl like crazy because that's like the thing that they've never done.
What if they just take the mask off and it's his character from Five Nights at Freddy's?
William Afton. Yeah. Yeah. What if, huh? What if they took the mask off and it was Freddy Fazbear? That's the real question. Well, that's the thing. Like, honestly, man, because of Five Nights at Freddy's, I could almost see Matt Lillard being the villain in Scream 7 because of that. So look, again, like you said, like, let's talk about Scream 7 for a second before we have to move on beyond it. But my hope is that if Scream 7 does come out, it is the end of this. Not that I'm saying I don't want any more, because we've already mentioned, like, even a bad Scream movie is better than a lot of franchises' best.
So far.
But at the same time, like, I kind of didn't need 5 and 6 anyways. You know what I mean? Right. Like, there's a universe where Scream 4 happens and then nothing else came out after. But there's also a universe where Scream 4 came out and it was super successful and we got Scream 5 immediately afterwards, and then a Scream 6. So there's a universe where it's Scream 7, 8, and 9 that are coming out now, as opposed to, a 5 and a 6 and a 7, because they made they would have made a trilogy off of the 4th movie. And I could genuinely have seen a universe where there are 3 trilogies in this franchise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're only off by 2 movies, is what I'm saying. So, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like by the end of 2024, we'll have a much better idea if Scream 7 is even happening. But if like you said, if things are to be believed, they're going to make sure that people are paid appropriately this time, I think, is just the nice way of putting it.
Well, nice way to put that indeed. And I think the only other thing to do now is to answer our 4th question. And this one is going to be fun. 4th question is always, what is something that if other people are a fan of that, they might love to get into the Scream franchise if they never have. And I've got a really fun answer for this one, but I'm eager to hear what you're going to say. So I want you to go first.
I want you to go first, because I answered the first 2 questions first. So fine. I want to hear what yours is, because you're very giddy about it too.
I think mine is going to come off as disrespectful, and I mean this with all of the respect ever to this franchise. I'm going to give something because I am a huge fan of animation. I'm also a huge fan of I don't want to say like detective stories, but like fun mysteries, like Encyclopedia Brown. I grew up reading the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, all that fun shit. So I'm going to throw out here, I think if you are a true fan of classic Scooby-Doo, you will love the Scream franchise as a grown-up. I think that it has a lot of the same trappings of like clues that are littered throughout the episode or the film. But then beyond that, the reveals at the end are kind of always the same gratifying feeling. Like, oh, it was the old farmer the whole time. Or, oh, it was Emma Roberts, her cousin, the whole time. That's a big deal. Like, it's this same gratifying moment of, if I paid a little more attention, I might have been able to get that, because they kind of gave me clues the entire movie. And it's so much fun to see that mystery unfold through 6 full films. And yeah, there are a couple times it doesn't make much sense. 6, you're never going to get that somebody was supposedly thought to be dead and they come back to be one of the multiple killers in that movie. It's such a contrived ending to that. Anyways.
Well, he's a cop, okay? I mean, like, that's literally, they just go, he's a cop, okay? He can do that.
Yes, because they let all cops care for their own daughter's death when that happens.
Hokey, man.
Yeah, I think it is very Scooby-Doo-esque, in which there's some good humor in there. You even have the Matthew Lillard tag to Scooby-Doo there, because he was in the live action film. But overall, I think it's just a really great way to transfer sensibilities. If you like Scooby-Doo when you were younger and you've somehow never watched Scream, it's kind of just a grown-up version of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it really is. Again, like it's, who done it, but people are getting stabbed to death as opposed to running away at high speed, which is what Scooby. I mean, Scooby Doo never tussles with the monster really. They just run away from it. At least, Shaggy and
Right.
Scooby. Yeah, I think that's pretty appropriate. I think it's interesting because I've heard that a couple times and like it's not that I didn't think about it, but again, it's just like, yeah, what a weird thing that is totally the case. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I wish they would they should just do that. They should do that thing. They should do Scream as a cartoon, but
Screamy
not
Doo.
Scream. But you know what I mean? Like not Scream, but they should take the idea of like an adult Scooby-Doo or a Scream style thing and do a cartoon of it. I think that would kick ass, Frank.
I would love a proper animated horror film that's a slasher. We have a couple animated horrors that have happened over the last few years, but something that comes out that is genuinely a slasher, like a mass person going after a group of people. You could do a lot more with that.
Right. Yeah, you totally could. Interesting. That's an interesting answer.
All right, my friend, what do you got?
So we kind of already talked about it, and maybe it's a little on the nose, but something that you would like if you like Scream or you're enjoying the Scream franchise. The three films of Michael, or I say Michael, that's his father, of Chris Landon. Happy Death Day to You, and Freaky. I think those three movies are really good postmodern slashers. Whatever we call the social media era slashers, especially like those. I mean, I know Happy Death Day to You is kind of a weird movie and it's barely a horror movie in a lot of ways.
I really like it.
I like it a lot too, and I really like the first one, and I'm still kind of shocked that we even got a second one in a lot of ways. But I think those movies were kind of also not ignored, but they kind of got lost, especially the second one kind of got lost in 2019. There was a lot coming out in 2019, and Happy Death Day to You is just one of them. And Freaky came out during the pandemic. So, some people probably didn't even remember that it happened. But I would say that the works of Chris Landon would be a direction you should start going if you like Scream, because I think Happy Death Day is as close as we've gotten to a Scream-esque musing on slasher films in the last 10 years, outside of Scream itself. But again, Happy Death Day to You came out after Scream 4, but before Scream 5. And Happy Death Day to You came out even before Scream 5 did. So it was kind of carrying the torch for those Scream-style slasher movies. Because Happy Death Day, its sequel, and Freaky all kind of poke fun at the genre as well. And in a way that I think Kevin Williamson would appreciate, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And my answer is not Scooby-Doo, but it's, it's more specific. And, to your point, the thing that does bum me out is like Chris Landon not getting direct Scream really fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It really, that's my biggest missed opportunity right now in horror is like the fact that the guy who directed Happy Death Day is not going to get to direct Scream 7. Like, what a bummer. Because that is a genuine bummer. And he walked away from it himself. So good on him for doing that as well, because I don't think I'd want to be in the middle of that eye of that hurricane, because that, everything's politically charged right now. And I think some people who want to walk away from it and have nothing to do with it, smart, frankly. But we don't get to see his movie, because I'm sure whatever he would be doing behind the camera, there would also be some of his influence on the script. And I can only imagine, what that would be. Because again, he's a talented writer on top of being a talented director. Because he wrote Paranormal Activity 2 through 5.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah, I actually think he helped write the most recent one or the second most recent one. So yeah, it's crazy to me. I don't think people talk about his movies enough, but at the same time, that's because there haven't been enough Chris Landon movies. And
I also think he's going to suffer because, again, with the Happy Death Day, it's kind of got that Terminator treatment where the first one is basically a horror movie, which is basically a slasher for Terminator and for this. And honestly, we can throw Alien in there as well. Alien, Terminator, and Happy Death Day, they're all kind of horror movies. And then the second one is like full-blown sci-fi. And if you're not ready for the whiplash of going from Alien to Aliens, or from Terminator to Terminator 2, or from Happy Death Day to Happy Death Day to You, you're not going to love it as much. And if you just loved that horror element of the first one, you're going to feel super disappointed. And so you have to be invested in the characters, which thankfully on Happy Death Day, our main character is great.
Yes.
She is delivering a fucking hell of a great performance in both of those films. So you should be invested in her. But again, if you just want that horror aspect, you kind of get let down on that second one. And I get that.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I think the second one is still a good enough movie and it's a fun enough
Agreed.
movie. Yeah. And Freaky I thought was pretty fun too. Like I think again, I think we covered it on the Culture Cast a long time ago, or maybe. I know I've seen it. I think we may have covered it, but it's fun. I mean, Vince Vaughn is great in that movie. I forget what I forget what her name is, the main actress. She's fantastic. I mean, again, like those are the most clever slashers that I can think of in the last 15 years that aren't Scream, that are kind of trying to do the same Scream thing,
Right.
which is do something more with the slasher genre than just, Halloween 2018. Because that's the thing. Like, I don't want to suggest any of those kinds of movies, because I think that Scream in a lot of ways like exists in spite of those movies intentionally.
Yeah.
And I think for me, really Scream is about subversion of the genre, and Chris Landon has not failed on that regard of it being a Scream movie. I think he succeeded more than anybody else really ever has, other than Kevin Williamson with Scream. Because Aaron Kruger couldn't even do it with Scream 3. Scream 3 is, for me, the worst sequel in the franchise.
I mean, I don't think there's a question. It is by far the worst.
Right. It's the Me Too Scream. And like, that's the funny part, is because like the Lance Henriksen character is Harvey Weinstein, right?
Yes.
Is it not? Like, right? Like it totally is. And so like what's weird about it is now you can look back at it and go, okay, so it's kind of weird that Miramax was producing this movie where the main villain of the movie that isn't the Ghostface killer is a, kind of sex-addled movie producer, which,
Well,
again, what we know about Harvey Weinstein is that's the reality. It's very weird.
isn't the illusion of that to the treatment of one of the main Scream stars from the first movie? That's what I
Right.
always thought it was.
Oh, you mean Rose McGowan?
Yeah, I knew that we were going to get into a little bit, but yeah, I mean, we never even mentioned her name. She's honestly fantastic in that first movie too, as the like wannabe ditzy blonde that's not even a ditzy. Like she's actually smart about a lot of things in that first movie. She's great, and yeah, the supposedly she was treated pretty fucking terribly by Weinstein quite a bit. So yeah, had to throw him in there. Although at the same time, I guess I should shout out cameo from Roger Corman too. That was a surprise.
Yeah. There's Roger Corman in the third movie is it's pretty funny. I think the thing about the third movie that really like doesn't hit for me is the lack of Neve Campbell. She's in that movie the least of like any of the movies, is what it feels like. And I don't know. I'm also really not a big fan of the twist in that movie. And I'm not talking about like what they essentially say they're going to do and they also do it, which is like a big time retcon. But I think the retcon works. It's more just like the reveal of who the killer is not great. Like the whole third act of that movie, I think is pretty weak. But
Well,
I love the setting. That's the thing. Like I love the setting because I think the setting is so smart to set it on the scene or on the set of Stab, a thing
Right.
that we've only ever really kind of heard about in the second movie, and now it's like front and center. I thought that's the smartest thing, but I just don't feel like they did enough with it.
Right. And I agree. I don't think they did enough with it either. We probably should mention I know probably a lot of people know about this, but just in case you didn't, Scream 3 was being made the entire time to be another two killer movie, and it was supposed to be Emily Mortimer's character was going to be the other killer. And that's the only reason. Like there are certain scenes, the house blowing up is the one that's most specific to me, that when you look at it with only one killer, it makes no sense that it could even physically happen that way. And so yeah, it was supposed to be two killers, and they just scrapped that idea near the end of it. So I really think not having Williamson on that one really screwed them over.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure you know about this, but honestly, like the biggest missed opportunity in the entire franchise, other than the Matt Lillard coming back thing, which they can still rectify, is at the end of the second movie, they should have had Ghostface watching from that from the balcony. Like, and it feel like, I know why they didn't do it, but it feels like such a missed opportunity. But like, it also feels like the thing that I'm surprised they haven't done it. I'm surprised they didn't do it in Scream 6, because I was kind of expecting them to have like something to lead into a Scream 7. But I would say Scream 2 and Scream 6 have more in common than they do different. Scream 1 and Scream 5. And then Scream 3, I don't think whatever they make Scream 7 is going to be very different from Scream 3. But Scream 4 and Scream 7 are probably going to end up being like the biggest standouts of all of the Scream movies. I just kind of get that feeling. But again, like maybe it'll never happen because I kind of don't want it to happen now because Chris Landon's not getting to direct it. Again, to go back to Chris Landon. So I do think because it's interesting because I think we can kind of rank them here. How would you, to close this out, how would you rank the Scream movie?
1 is better than 2, is better than 4, is better than 6, is better than 5, is better than 3.
Of the sequels to the original movie, which is the one that comes the closest to the quality of the first movie for you? Is
2.
It the 5th one?
2, by far.
2. So what's your favorite movie of the franchise? What's your favorite franchise movie?
I mean, of the whole franchise, I'm still going to go with the original because it's perfect and it's the only one that I can jump into and enjoy without feeling like I should watch the other ones around it to get a little more enjoyment out of it. And that's, I guess, a small part of it. I do got to say, one of my favorite performances in the entire franchise is got to be Billy Loomis's mother in Scream 2. She is so great at everything she does.
Laurie Metcalf really knocks it out of the park in the second movie.
I mean, I've loved her in everything.
Well, I always ask my wife whenever we watch it, I was like, she was in Roseanne, right? Because I've like never seen her in anything else other than Scream 2. She plays.
What about Lady Bird? You haven't seen Lady Bird?
Nope.
Whoa, you got to see Lady Bird. Lady Bird is an amazing movie. And what's crazy, it is a really great period piece for when you were in high school.
Interesting.
Or like about to go into high school. It is going to feel super nostalgic for you.
Huh. That's the Greta Gerwig movie, right?
Yep. And it's so well made. And she is astonishing in that movie as well.
Well, she's a good director. Speaking of good writer directors. Yep. Hey, give her Scream 7. What would that be?
Oh gosh.
I mean
that.
I mean Barbie was pretty meta. Like, you know, I think Barbie is really interestingly meta same way. Like Barbie is meta the same way Scream is in a lot of ways. Like it's trying to say a lot more about, I think, everything in terms of the film going experience than just we're being funny about Barbie dolls. Like Barbie, I don't know. Barbie is a movie like Barbie doesn't come along in a long time. And Greta Gerwig, she's a very specific kind of director and a very specific kind of writer. And that's what I think Scream needs is like somebody. And that's why Chris Landon being involved was such like a thing that I think everybody was excited for. In terms of me and my ranking, I think 1 is still the best of the franchise. But I will tell you the one that I go back to the most often is the second one, period. I like this. I personally like the second one more than any of the other movies in the franchise. But I will concede 100% the first movie is the best movie in the franchise. Period. And 5, I think, comes pretty close to being as good as the first movie. I think. But the second movie for me, like, you really can't watch it without having seen the first movie.
It's wild that I rank the 5th one as 5th best.
That's interesting. You know what? I wonder if the 6th movie will ever grow on me because the 6th movie for me is I'm not a huge fan of Scream 3, but at least it was directed by Wes Craven.
Right.
Scream 6 was not, and Scream 6 is kind of a mess. I mean,
it's very messy.
Yeah, and I think the coolest thing about Scream 6 is getting to see all the stuff from the other Scream movies, which just makes me wish I was watching those movies instead.
Yep.
And it's like,
totally
look, there's Stu Macher's jacket. And oh, look, there's the TV that supposedly killed Stu Macher. I'm just going to watch the first one now. Like, come on. That's, but like, that's the thing. It's like Scream 6 and Scream 2 have so much in common, but I think Scream 2 is much better than Scream 6 is. But that reveal at the end of Scream 6 is really ham-fisted, and it bothers me. It's not as clever as they thought it was, because they kind of cheated.
Oh, yeah. It's very contrived.
Yeah. And I've seen Scream 6 like 4 times now, and it has not grown on me yet. I'm kind of just like, it's fine. The beginning of the movie, I think, is the best part.
Oh, like, 100%. And I really wish she was in the movie for much longer than that first scene.
I mean, she's great. I mean, Samara Weaving is great, but also the actor that they have playing Ghostface is like you could have had him be Ghostface the whole movie, and I
Yep.
would have watched it. Like, because that scene where he interacts with Jenna Ortega, you're just like, whoa, what the hell? Like, what's going on? And it never, Scream 6 never gets back to that point of like,
Right.
again, they kind of make you feel like they're going to do something and then they back off of it and they should have just done it. And that's what's funny about Scream, because we've kind of mentioned already, like the missed opportunities. Scream as a franchise doesn't miss many opportunities. They take most of them. Again, like in a franchise that has a movie within the franchise called Stab, that has allowed them to do things they wouldn't do otherwise. So they're constantly taking advantage of this weird corner of the world they've created for themselves. But when given the opportunity to go full bore insane, they never have. And I want them to just once. Just do it. Because they've kind of always alluded to it, but it hasn't happened yet. And Scream 6, like the leaked version of Scream 6 supposedly had like an ending with a ghost face showing up that was like, it would end on a cliffhanger. And that never happened either. Like, I'm sure you had heard about that, right? Scream 6 was supposed to have like a cliffhanger ending and it didn't. Maybe they shot it. I don't know. But Scream as a franchise, like throughout, is so solid that like it's hard to rank them really, because they're all pretty good. Even the ones that aren't great are pretty good.
Yeah, they're all entertaining. I think 5, the main thing I didn't love, and this is a pretty big movie sin for me, it was just boring. I think it might be the most boring of all of them for
Which
me.
one?
5.
Scream 5?
Yeah.
The one that you like?
I like every single Scream movie.
That's fair.
I just a part of it, like it meanders a little too long, I think.
Well, it's an hour and 54 minutes. Like, that's the other thing. Like, it's also a really long movie. And the third act in Scream 5 is nowhere near as good as the third act in Scream 1. And it's trying so hard to be the third act of Scream 1. Like, you're really trying to do the thing that's really hard to do, because the end of Scream 1 is literally perfect. Yeah. So no matter Mikey Madison getting lit on fire, no matter how many times I see it, and it's funny because like I don't think in any of the movies the villains have gotten their comeuppance as hard as they get it in 5. Like, I think 5 is like the funniest in terms of like the way the film ends is just so over the top, so wild. But it works perfectly because, again, it's like, what if someone made a movie like Scream in 2022 or 2020? This is the way it would be made, where it's like way more violent, bloodier, crazy amounts of gore. The CGI knife really comes into play in 5 a lot, because they get to do a lot of fun up close stuff that you couldn't do in the original 3 movies, or even in the, I guess, they didn't even have a CGI knife in the 4th one. I think the 4th one was
don't believe so.
A real knife. So yeah, I mean, Scream 5 does kind of meander. It does, in a way that the first movie never did.
Right.
And Jack Quaid, right? Like, he's fine, right?
He's okay.
Right? Like, I don't know. Like, that's the thing that you kind of mentioned. Like, Scream 1's performances in terms of the villains are so good. The rest of the franchise has been chasing it since. All of those movies have been chasing that first movie's third act, but also just the 2 killers at the end of the movie. Like, that Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, like Matthew Lillard over Skeet Ulrich's back, making that fucking face, that is so iconic to me that these movies have never recaptured just that alone. But they've done their own thing, which is fine. Yep. I just kind of wish, I don't know. There's so many missed opportunities in this franchise, just like never making money being another one. Like, I really do wish Scream 5 had come out after Scream 4, like within a year or 2.
Yeah.
And then, because I think we still could have gotten these movies, the 5 and 6, I think we still could have gotten them the way they are now, with a 4, 5, and 6 happening, because it would have just been 7, 8, 9. So, yeah.
Well, I think the icons of Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich are a good point to end this on. Hope everybody has enjoyed this. This is one of my favorites, and you can tell it's one of yours. So I really hope, if you've never given Scream a chance, that you do after this. And we will talk to you on the next one.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.